Alright, so where does Stardash come from is pretty easily explained. The game is based on Game Boy games back from the 90s. This was the gadget to have. This isn't the original one, it's already a few versions later. This is the Game Boy Pocket. I found this somewhere and it had Tetris in it, so yay me, because I already gave away my old Game Boy at some point. So I needed a Game Boy in my life. Everybody needs a Game Boy in their life. So get one if you can. When I created Stardash, there was just one main thing that I really wanted to put into the game, and that's have a Game Boy feeling. So I actually limited myself to 4 colors. The Game Boy colors, based on the Game Boy colors, they're not exactly the same, but they do look great on mobile devices. So I picked these colors, and then I gave the control buttons this very flashy pinky color that the Game Boy buttons originally also had. So Stardash was the second game of what I call the second generation of Orange Pixel games. The first generation of Orange Pixel games started when I started the company in 2004. I created games for mobile phones like Nokia, Sony, Samsung, Siemens, a lot of those brands that aren't here anymore making phones, which in some cases is sad. So that was my first generation of games. The original Meganoid was the first game in the second generation of Orange Pixel games. This was the first type of game on the smartphone where I was really just trying to create the games I like to play. And that's really what I should be doing. So the main feature in Stardash is the level design, and probably the main character of the game is the level design. I just remastered the game for new release and having it run on current hardware, iPhone and Android and PC and everything. And I had to play the game a lot of times just to see if everything was still working. The main thing I noticed is that these levels are really designed with a certain rhythm in mind, and if you don't feel that rhythm, then you will have a hard time getting through the levels. So when you eventually feel that rhythm, it will be a lot easier to get through the level. The other thing I noticed in the levels is also the layout. Basically there is very little space on the screen. It's just horizontally scrolling, so the full level is like 10 building blocks high. And you have to do it with that amount of space to create the levels. Having only 4 colors in the graphics doesn't help either, but it plays still pretty amazing after all these years. So yay for the level design. Alright, so having just cheered for the level design, it's also probably the biggest flaw in the game. So I know that I've created this game 6 or 7 years ago and my reflexes have probably been getting less and less over time, but this is ridiculously hard at times. I think I could have placed a few monsters less, or give some more room in between jumps here and there. The level design is very good, it's very focused on what it wants to do, but it could have lightened up a little bit for the player. I didn't change that in this remastered version because I wanted to keep the game as it was back then. A new version of Stardash, if it would ever happen, would probably have a little bit more room for the player and less frustration thrown into it. So if you really want to try out one of my older games, Stardash is probably the best start to do that. It's a very classic game, it's very hard, it's frustrating at times, it's challenging, it's difficult, but it's a platformer as a platformer used to be in the old 80s and 90s, and you should be able to enjoy it if you like those type of games. And that's it for this week's video. If you have played Stardash, let me know some of your favorite memories about it in the comments below. If you haven't played it yet, why not go play it? It's out there, it's available, it's still fun, and let me know what you think about the game if you have played it for the first time. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!